السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
لا إله إلا الله الدعوة التامة والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله الله تعالى بالهدى ودين الحق فبلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح لهذه الأمة وجاهد في الله تعالى حق جهاده حتى أتاه اليقين. فصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد. So we all know what the khutbah is going to be about today. There's no mystery, there's nothing ambiguous, there's nothing which is going to be a means of you thinking and being forced to use your head today. We all know what the khutbah is going to be about. It's about something that many people are afraid of, and they're terrified. And many people are nonchalant and negligent. They don't care at all. But despite fear, and the power of fear, and the strength of that emotion, this whole entire event makes us very and extremely sad, very heartbroken. And that is if you sat down and you thought for 1 second, for 5 minutes, if the people had as much care and concern, if the people were that conscious and aware of Allah's wrath, of Allah's punishment, of Allah's destruction to the soul, and the eternal punishment of the soul and the body in the hereafter, the Muslims will be in a much better place, and the world will be a much better world. So how aware are we of Allah's wrath and of Allah's anger? Are we conscious of our religion? Do we take the necessary means and precaution for the preservation of the soul, which is the most important element, and of the mind, and of course of the body? So just stop and think about this now. People are terrified, they're running, buying things, canceling, staying home, forgetting this, baiting this, quarantining this, so on and so forth. When's the last time people were that terrified of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? When's the last time people were that aware of Allah's rights upon them? So we have to be mindful, brothers and sisters. And we know that Islam and life is a 24/7 school. Life is a learning process. You learn, you gain knowledge, and inshallah ta'ala you obtain wisdom. They asked some of the ulama of hadith, some of the great scholars of the past, they says, until when should a man learn hadith? Until when? He's 40, he's 50, he's 60, he's a grand master. He's a muhaddith, he's a hafiz, he's a musnid or a musnad. He's memorized thousands and thousands of hadiths. He's learned all his life. Until when should he stop? Some of the scholars of the past, they would say, إِلَىٰ أَن تُصَبَّ مِحْبَرَتُهُ عَلَى قَبْرِهِ. It says when the ink pot is poured over his grave, that's when he stops learning. Stop seeking, stop learning, stop obtaining when you're dead. And this is summed up in our American cliche, from the cradle to the grave. So we always have to learn. And we always have to try to gain more wisdom. And we got to keep using this. We got to keep thinking and pondering, critical thought. What is behind this virus? The pros, the cons, for us and or against us. And what is our responsibility as Muslims? And what can I compare it to in my daily life? Am I trembling from Allah's fear? Allah tells us that if we sit down the Quran upon a mountain, a solid rock, it would split. It would split into, it would crack up. Because of the power of the Quran. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He talks about rocks cleaving asunder, splitting asunder, min khashyatillah, from the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our hearts, how hard, how black, how rusty, how far they are from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how heedless, how forgetful, and how negligent we've become. But the coronavirus, I'm aware of that. Don't shake this person's hand, don't hug, 6 feet, stay home, cancel this, buy water, toilet paper, etc. I'm aware of that. And that's because it's going to harm my body. It's going to harm my health. It's going to harm my pretty skin. It's going to harm my children. But Allah's fire upon those children, did you think about that? Allah's wrath, did you think about that? Are you afraid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Is it even on your mind, even if you can't do it? You can't translate it into physical deeds, but just being conscious. Because there's certain sinners that are conscious. They know that they're wrong, and they feel bad, and they have regret, and they have remorse. And if they see a righteous person, they say, Assalamu alaikum. If someone tries to violate a Muslim walking on the street, say, whoa, leave him alone. No, chill, that's a Muslim. Because he knows that he's wrong, but he still has some light in his heart. And there are those from amongst us who pray, who fast, who have beards and khimars and niqabs. But we're heedless from the hereafter. And we're heedless from Allah's punishment. We're heedless from Allah's wrath. And we think that everything's going to be fine and peachy. But the non-Muslims tell us something, and we immediately act. Look how sad this situation is. We are not the leaders. Instead, we are the led. We are not the leaders. We are not the trailblazers. We are not those who dominate policy. They tell us and we respond. Jump. And the first thing we say is, how high, sir? Master, how high would you like me to jump? How many times would you like me to jump? There was a time and there was a place in which the Muslims told the people to jump. The Muslims said, you have to jump right now. Aslim, taslim. Simple and easy. Accept Islam and you'll be safe. We can't say that nowadays. We are being led and poured around and dictated and told what to do. The Messenger of Allah, alayhi salatu wasalam, over 1400 years ago, before there was anything known as the West, before there was anything known as modern medical science, when people thought that diseases and illnesses and sicknesses were purely phenomenal, and that it was only a wrath and a scourge from God Almighty for the sin of the sinners, which we believe in that as Muslims as well. But that's what they thought. And the Prophet of Islam, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "La yuridu mumridun ala musih." A healthy camel should not be with a sickly camel. A healthy human should not be with a sickly human. Over 1400 years ago, quarantine, taking precaution. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he established that an infection and disease. What was it known to the non-Muslims at that time? Did they have bread that became moldy? Did they have spores on that bread? Did they know how diseases were passed on? They didn't. And the Prophet ﷺ, he established that. So we don't need you to tell us about that. We don't need that advice. We don't need that direction unless we're heedless. And unless we have forgotten. And unless we are pleased with this worldly life. And unless we are not opening up our holy book. And unless we are not reading those holy hadith. Unless we look for guidance before the Prophet ﷺ, then we need to be taught and instructed. But our Prophet told us about illness. He told us about sickness. He told us about the plague. إِذَا وَقَعَ الطَّاعُونُ وَأَنْتُمْ بِأَرْضٍ فَلَا تَخْرُجُوا مِنْهَا أو منها. He says when there's a plague, epidemic, pandemic, ta'un, wabah. Whether the coronavirus is a plague or not is a different issue. When there is a plague and you're in that country, do not leave. And do not enter that country as well. Over 1,400 years ago, the Prophet ﷺ said that. And where was Cambridge and Oxford? Where was modern medical science? So the Muslims need to wake up or be woken up. The Muslims need to think and reflect. And the Muslims have to stop being sheep and cattle, pulled by their horns, pulled by their fleece, and drugged to the slaughter. We have to wake up, we have to be conscious. All of these things Allah decrees, and He makes them for a purpose and for wisdom, but am I learning from them? When was the last time I thought about my health before the coronavirus? The Prophet ﷺ says the two favors, the two golden gifts of Allah, the Mighty and the Most High, that most people waste, most people are negligent of, most people don't care about. What's the first thing He said? He said, as-sihha, it's health. You don't care about your health until you're sick. You don't care about shaking people's hands and touching railings and doorknobs until it's a virus. And the moment that virus goes, I go back to smoking and drinking and not sleeping and my imbalanced lifestyle and neglecting my health. And most people, and Allah knows best, most of them, the only reason why they eat organic foods and stay away from genetically modified foods and go to the gym is for worldly purposes. Dunya. To look good and to flaunt it and to show it. You have a bare belly, a big stomach. Why? Because you work 2-3 jobs, you have to sleep, you have to eat, you take care of your children, you take care of your wife and children. No. You have to have a flat stomach, just so people say you have a flat stomach. This is the world in which we live. We're heedless, and we don't pay attention to our health until it's too late. We don't think about the Quran and the Sunnah, unfortunately, until the non-Muslims tell us to follow the teachings of the Quran and the Sunnah indirectly. And from the teachings of the Quran and the Sunnah is to be careful. And it's to beware, and it's to be mindful of sicknesses, of illnesses, of viruses, and of death, and of contagion and infection. As we mentioned in the khutbah before last week, the Messenger of Allah, he would say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika, Oh Allah, I seek your refuge. The Prophet used to ask Allah for protection from all diseases. Min al-barasi, wal-junani, wal-junun, wa min sayyid asqam kama qala. Oh Allah, protect me from my skin peeling and fading away. Protect me from my mind peeling and fading away. Protect me from my fingertips, my toes, and my arms peeling and fading away. Protect me from becoming mad. Protect me from being an outcast. وَمِن سَيِّئِ الْأَسْقَامِ, and keep me safe from all diseases. From all diseases. So we know this. But we need to be reminded. We need to be woken up. We need to think critically. We need to ponder and just take 5 minutes out of work and gym and video games and college and business and sports and politics. 5 minutes a day. It's all it takes. 1 lesson a day. It's all it takes to stop and to make sense of what's going on in the world today. Allahumma Rabb al-Nas, Mutib al-Bas, Anta Shafi, la shifa illa shifaq wa shifa la yughadiru saqama. Alhamdulillah wa kafa wa salatullahi wa salamuhu ala ibadihi alladhina istafa ma ba'd. We mentioned in that previous khutbah the following steps for prevention and protection and benefit from the coronavirus. We said first and foremost is seeking Allah's refuge, asking Allah for protection. And we also mentioned precaution in taking your means. وَخُذُوا حِذْرَكُمْ. Don't be lax, don't be nonchalant. And we also mentioned that a person must put his trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing is going to happen to us unless Allah wills that thing for us. In the masjid or outside. You get the coronavirus walking down the street or in the mosque on Friday. Nothing is going to happen unless Allah wills it. And we know this as Muslims. But do we practice it? So what I want to explain to you, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, in the brief period of time that I have, 10 points that I have recorded. And I have written down for myself and for you 10 golden principles with regards to protection from this evil virus and becoming a victim of the paranoia and becoming a slave of the frenzy that we're now experiencing and living in. Number 1, al-burdu al-kalami bila ilm. It's to stay away from speaking without knowledge. That is a general Islamic principle. If you don't know, shut up. If you don't know, be quiet. Keep your mouth shut. If you have not studied Islam properly, don't speak, ya akhi. If you have not studied medicine properly, and infectious diseases. It's no need for you to talk. You don't have to give no speech, no declaration. We don't need your speech. We have the learned scholars of Islam. We have the students of those scholars, and we have medical professionals. We have people that have spent years out of their lives studying, reading, memorizing, and experimenting with these things. Allah tells us, وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٌ. He told the Prophet of Islam, the most pious, the most righteous, don't approach that which you don't know of, Muhammad. وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٌ. If you have no knowledge, keep your feet still. Because in the sam'a, one's ears, one's eyes, and one's heart, Allah says, كُلُّ أُولَٰئِكَ كَانَ عَنْهُ مَسْئُولًا. You will be asked about all of those things on the day of judgment. What you said with your tongue, Allah will ask you about. What you listened to, Allah will ask you about. What you felt and thought in your heart, Allah will ask you about. So the wise person is going to control his faculties and refrain from speaking about things which he is not a professional. And the more talkers, and the more speakers, and the more chatterboxes, the more chaos that we have. The more recklessness we have, and the more confusion that we have. Point number 2. Al-hadru min at-taqawwul ala Allahi bila ilmin. A point that is similar to the first point, but much more specific. And that is being careful of speaking about Allah without knowledge. It's bad to talk about anything without knowledge. But now you're talking about Allah, Rabbul Alameen. It's haram to come to Jumu'ah. It's obligatory to stay home. It's haram to make Hajj. It's obligatory to make Hajj despite the virus. You can't do this. You shouldn't do this. This is disliked. Avoid that. So on and so on and so forth. You're telling me that Allah is angry with me by coming? You're telling me that I'm sinning by not coming? You're informing me of Allah, His anger and His love and His pleasure about what I do. Are you sure about that? You sure about that? You willing to stand in front of Allah Yawm al-Qiyamah and sign off on behalf of Allah? Are you sure about that? قُلْ إِنَّمَا حَرَّمَ رَبِّيَ الْفَوَاحِشَ مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا وَمَا بَطَنَ. Allah says, say, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the only thing my Lord has made unlawful, al-fawahish, illicit things, indecent things, repugnant and reprehensible things, مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا وَمَا بَطَنَ, that which is public and that which is private, وَالْإِثْمَ وَالْبَغِي, sin and transgression, وَأَن تُشْرِكُوا بِاللَّهِ مَا لَمْ يُنَزِّلْ بِهِ سُلْطَانًا. And for you to make partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, saying Allah is a son or a wife or partner, or their gods and goddesses and ancestors that we have to call upon and seek their blessings. وَأَن تَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. The last and the most cardinal sin, Allah says, and for you to speak about Allah, مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ, that which you know not. Ibn al-Qayyim, may Allah have mercy upon him, said the greatest sin in Islam, greater and worse than shirk, is talking about Allah without knowledge. Reflect on those words. Point number 3. Al-bu'du an al-ajilati wa taqaddum wa tasaddur, is beware of haste. Beware of rushing into things or rushing out of things. Rushing into precaution and rushing out of precaution. The Prophet ﷺ has told us, Inna fika khaslataini yuhibbuhum Allah. 2 things that you have that Allah loves. 2 things. And from those things is forbearance, at-ta'anni. You're tolerant, you're clement. You're not reckless, you don't rush towards things. Wallahu yuhibbu sabirin. Allah loves the patience. He loves those who are patient. And the narration says that ta'anni min Allah wa al-ajalatu min ash-shaytan. Patience and forbearance is from Allah, and haste is from the devil. Point number 4. عدم التكاسل والإهمال وقلة الاهتمام is not to be nonchalant and don't care. Whether the disease is made by this country or that country, whether it's fake, whether it's exaggerated, don't be curious. Don't ever let your guard down. Be mindful and be watchful. As the Prophet ﷺ, he was spoken of not from his friends and his adherents, but his enemies in Medina. They said to Salman radiallahu anhu, لَقَدْ عَلَّمَكُمْ نَبِيُّكُمْ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَتَّى الْقِرَاءَةِ. Your Prophet has taught you everything, even the manner of relieving yourself. Something that you don't want to talk about, going to the bathroom. Something that you hide and you keep from the people. Something that you may look at as an important thing, but the Prophet taught us how to use the bathroom. Salman radiallahu anhu, he says, Ajal, yes, that's right, you got that right. لَقَدْ نَهَانَا, he has forbidden us, so on and so forth. So if the Prophet taught us how to use the bathroom, the most small, minute thing, Then of course He taught us how to deal with the diseases and illnesses and infections. So the Muslim is never to be negligent. وَلَا تَكُن مِّنَ الْغَافِلِينَ, Allah says in the Quran, be not from the heedless. وَلَا تَكُن مِّنَ الْغَافِلِينَ, be not from the heedless. Be not from the nonchalant. Be not from those who don't care. That is not the position of the Muslim. Next point, number 6. Or number 5. إن أحكام الطب وتعليماته لا تتصامم مع أحكام الشريعة المطهرة والقراءة. The rulings of medicine and prevention do not contradict with the rulings of Islam. There's no clash between the two. What the people have discovered in the laboratory, the correct proven facts and not theories, they go hand in hand with Islam, as we have previously explained. That the Prophet ﷺ said, when you see a leper, run from that leper, as if you would run from a lion. Don't sit around sickly and infected people. Point number 6. أن أفعل الله عز وجل بين العذاب والابتلاء. That Allah, what He does to us and with us, goes between punishment and test. Punishment and test. It may be a punishment and it may be a test. And it goes back to the first point and the second point. You don't know. The coronavirus is Allah's punishment to non-Muslims. Maybe, maybe not. The coronavirus is a means of us being tested. Maybe, maybe not. How do you know? Do you know what Allah does and why He does it? You don't know. So therefore, you be patient. You show thankfulness, you do your part, and leave Allah's actions to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you're a slave, you're a servant. The next piece of advice, and there are many ayats that explain this. Allah says, وَبَلَوْنَاهُمْ مِنْ حَسَنَاتِ وَالسَّيِّئَاتِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ. Allah talks about Pharaoh and the house of Pharaoh and the trial of Moses. He says, وَبَلَوْنَاهُمْ. We tested them with good things and bad things. Allah mentions about the frogs, about blood, about the locusts. He tested them in order for them to return. وَنَبْلُوكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ فِتْنَةً وَإِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. Allah says, and we test you with good and with evil, or evil with good, and you shall return to us. So it could be a punishment, and it could be a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next point, and then the Muslim, لَا يَخْسَرْ بِأَيَّةَ حَالٍ وَقَعَ فِيهَا. No matter what happens, whether it's a punishment, whether it's a test, whether you're sick, whether you're not sick, whether you stay from work, you stay at home, you can never ever lose. عَجَبًا لِأَمْرِ الْمُؤْمِنِ إِنَّ أَمْرَهُ كُلَّهُ لَهُ خَيْرٌ إِنْ أَصَابَتْهُ سَرَّاءُ شَكَرَ فَكَانَ خَيْرًا لَهُ وَإِنْ أَصَابَتْهُ ضَرَّاءُ صَبَرَ فَكَانَ خَيْرًا لَهُ. The Prophet ﷺ says, the believer never loses. And the believer's affair is wonderful, it's amazing, and it's mind-boggling and spine-tingling. إِنَّ أَمْرَهُ كُلَّهُ لَهُ خَيْرٌ. And that's because everything that takes place to a Muslim in the moment is good. Positivity comes his way, he's thankful, and that's good. Negativity comes his way, and he's patient, and that is also good. So the Muslim would never ever lose. Point number 8, أن الحجر الصحي في كل التجمعات لا في الجمع والأعياد والجماعات فحسب. Is that avoiding people and quarantine and separating yourself is in all congregations, not just the mosque, not just Friday prayer, not just an Eid prayer. So if you want to stay away from Jumu'ah, that's fine. That's fine. You feel that you'll get sick, that's no problem. The sick person doesn't have to come to Jumu'ah. If you're afraid of getting sick and you have proof for that, that's best. But it also includes going to the movies and hanging out in the malls and sitting in Starbucks or Tim Hortons. That also includes you hanging out in the arcade. That also includes you hanging around the non-Muslims playing basketball. Anything in which you're around those people, shaking hands, touching a basketball, a joystick, an ATM machine, avoid that as well. And don't just say, stay away from the houses of Allah because of the COVID-19. Stay away. You get sick. You get the corona. If you cough, if you sneeze, don't come. Stay away from the mosque. Maybe, as we have explained, that's not far from Islam. But this applies to all your other congregations and meetings as well. The next point that I've written down, and I'm going to share with you, be mindful that the shaitan is going to use this incident. Don't think he's sleeping. Don't think he's in quarantine. Don't think that the shaitan is off of work or home from school. Rather, he's going to be extremely busy. And he's going to cause problems and mayhem and havoc. And he's going to stir up the people to make more problems. So one could possibly say, no, Allah knows best. Metaphorically, quote unquote, the shaitan is having a ball right now. He's laughing. He's having fun right now. Look at the stupid Muslims. Look at him. Look at him like ants. Look at him running around confused. They don't know anything. They listen to the people who hate them. They listen to the people who are killing and murdering their brothers and slaughtering them as we speak. And those are the instructions that you follow. Look at the Muslims fighting each other, arguing and bickering. Shaitan is enjoying this, and he's going to use this. He says, Allah tells us that Shaitan is an enemy for you. So take him as a necessary enemy. The last point, al-hadar, kull al-hadar, min al-takhalluq bi akhlaq al-munafiqeen, is beware of imitating the hypocrites. Beware of being like the fake Muslims. Those people whom Allah tells us regarding, وَإِذَا جَاءَهُمْ أَمْرٌ مِنَ الْأَمْنِ أَوْ الْخَوْفِ أَذَاعُوا بِهِ. Allah says when something comes to them, news, something happens, مِنَ الْأَمْنِ أَوْ الْخَوْفِ أَذَاعُوا بِهِ. Safety or fear, a war, you're coming to fight Medina, there's a plague in Medina, something happens, أَذَاعُوا بِهِ. Allah says they scream out loud, they publicize it, they talk about it. Look at this verse and think about social media. The moment something drops, tweet, Instagram, YouTube, immediately 1,000 people, that will be, Allah says, they holler out loud. And Allah says, well, no, and if they only took it back, إِلَى الرَّسُولِ وَإِلَى أُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْهُمْ لَعَلِمَهُ الَّذِينَ يَصَّرِفُونَهُ مِنْهُمْ. Allah says, and if they took it back to the messenger, the sunnah. What does the sunnah tell us about the coronavirus? What guidance do we have in the hadith? وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ, and those in authority from among them, they would know what to say and what to do. They would know how to extract and how to deduce. وَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ, Allah says, and it wasn't for the bounty of Allah upon you and His mercy, لَاتَّبَعْتُمُ الشَّيْطَانَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. All of you would follow the devil, except for a few. If it wasn't for Allah's guidance, you would be a worshiper of shaitan, a follower of shaitan. So be mindful of these 10 points, brothers and sisters. Do not be like the munafiqeen who spread fear, who spread panic, who spread these things among the Muslims. Be careful, be mindful, take your precaution. If you feel the need to stay home, stay home. If you feel the need to avoid the Jumu'ah, that's fine. If you feel the need that I don't have to do this, that's fine. But don't force it upon the next person, and don't ever forget nothing is going to happen to you unless Allah wills. And if you're in your house, in your bed, the sickness can come to you if that's Allah's will. So be mindful, brothers and sisters. These are food for thoughts. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to heal us and to cure us and to protect us from this evil virus. We ask Allah to help the Muslims in China. We ask Allah to help the Muslims in India. We ask Allah to help the Muslims all over the world, Burma, Tibet, wherever they are. We ask Allah to protect our Muslims who are incarcerated and locked up. Those Muslims who are being tortured and persecuted for things they did, the things that they didn't do. We ask Allah to protect them. We ask Allah to release the Muslim prisoners, those who are wronged, those who have been held against that which is justice. We ask Allah to spread Islam and to make it the highest in the land. We ask Allah to make the flag, the banner of La ilaha illallah, to slap the wind and never ever to be taken down. And we ask Allah to make the statement of kufr and shirk and bid'ah and ma'siyah and taghut to be the lowest in the land. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wassalamu ala al-mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
الله أكبر الله